Hello, beautiful babes. I'm Corinne with Soulshift Channeling, and I am thrilled to be here. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Back again. We're going to do a little chit chat about what's going on or what the energetics I've been recognizing lately as a way to kind of get to know each other a little bit more. I love to channel, and I am striving to be more present in my relationships and with my clients. So feel free to tune into that part if you want to get to know me a little bit more. And if not, that's totally okay. Skip ahead and we'll do our normal channeled collective message today, along with at least a couple pick a pile messages, and then there will be a collective message at the end. These collective messages come through and I'm noticing are contributing to, or like setting a little bit of a foundation for the individual messages. So it seems like we're seeing themes, and then the specific pick a pile messages go like into more specific detail. And that you can choose based on the number of the pile or the emoji itself, or pile. I say pick a pile because a lot of times you see tarot pick a pile readings. This is a channeled connection. So basically I say a blessing and prayer, connect to the Akashic Records, and download, for lack of better words, image and metaphor that can come in and transfer information and energy into your life. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. I have been tuning into and seeing what needs to come up to be shared, and it seems like I've been noticing lately just a present flow of information from above and from below, like from the heavens and from the earth lately. And I think this is kind of, it's something I'm familiar with, of getting to know where flow is coming for me in particular. I really, as someone who channels and who's developed this practice over a number of years, it was really helpful, especially at the beginning, to notice how and where energy was flowing in my body and what the sensations were like. As I was beginning channeling, or before I was beginning to channel, but I was like tuned into energy and going through kind of an awakening process, I guess, for lack of better term. I would notice it hitting different parts of my body. Like I remember really feeling it through my sinuses, through my nose, and like kind of my third eye area, and noticing fluctuations at different times of day. Like I remember driving home one night late and I could just like feel it through my face, and it was just a wild sensation. And I think it really taught me how to allow information to come into my body in a way that I could trust, how to trust and grow my capacity, because I don't know, if it's not something that you get used to, it can be really overwhelming and kind of scary. And I feel like I hear stories of people getting new abilities or having spiritual or psychosomatic experiences and getting really freaked out by it. And I hate to hear that, because I understand it. New sensations can be really challenging and overwhelming if we don't have someone to kind of hold our hand or guide us through or shepherd us through that kind of space. And it's also difficult to bear witness to one another when we all have such vastly different experiences of what that feels like. But anyway, back to it. I feel like I've had this sensation of information coming from the heavens, which is a lot of where my information comes from personally. It feels like it comes from source space, which my goodness, I feel like I can hear cats brawling outside, which gives me lots of like celestial, terrestrial info. For me, source is something that is held and filtered through planet, but to me, like, is more like sun space, is above us, so to speak. I do believe we each have an individual connection to source, and then I also feel like we get a lot of like grounding, or I know I get a lot of grounding obviously from the planet, and that is a unique particular lens that source is filtered through, that has its own relationship with source. Like, our planet is a fragment of source, just like I'm a fragment of source, and just like you are. And it's been really lovely to kind of feel energetics coming from both directions, so to speak. And it's also something that I remember practicing a lot of, like getting downloads and uploads at the same time, like being in a space where I feel like flows can be traveling opposite directions within myself, and just letting my body experience flow from multiple directions, so to speak. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe some of you are practicing channeling or just opening up to this experience as well. But yeah, I've been noticing and appreciating information from above and below, and I think it's really important because as humans, I think we're really a unique intersection of source and the divine, but also we're intrinsically very biological and 3D and physically. Our forms come from the 3D, our forms come from the earth, and it's just a beautiful intersection. So I've been noticing and tuning into that lately. Yeah, let me know what you guys have been feeling and thinking, and yeah, love a little chit chat check-in. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into channeled content. Basically, this is a part where I'll say a blessing that will connect me to the collective and allow me to bring in metaphor and all sorts of fun information. So if you're here for the first time, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Let me know how you're doing, and we'll see you on the other side. Navigate below to jump to where you need to, and I'll see you in there. Okay. Okay, I think we'll have 4 readings today. We'll see. All right. My center with your center, our center with all centers. Our center is the one center. I enter the realm of masters, teachers, and loved ones of this collective, and match our hearts and minds with theirs. Let us find through joy and wisdom the ability to open the universe and ourselves to greater possibility and deeper love. Eternal Source, fill our hearts with clarity and sacred power, and show us a collective's place of balance. Show us this collective's place of balance. Hear us now as we become one with the whole. When we're complete, release us in love and admiration, keeping our energy raised. The records are open. Okay, my dears, the first thing I see is a spool of thread. And I don't know how many of you out there are sewists, but you don't always use a spool of thread on a machine. There's sometimes when you're doing hand stitching where you need to take 1 or 2 like arm lengths of thread and you unspool it. And so there's this concept of unspooling the thread large pieces at a time, as opposed to if you just put it on the machine, the machine just unravels it as it's needed. When you're hand stitching, you need a larger length of thread that you cut and then thread through a needle, and then you're hand stitching. With this, I usually use a doubled up long piece of thread. And this is echoing the same concept of harvesting a lot all at once. Like when we harvest a crop, there are two different ways to do it. Sometimes you grow a crop so large that you need to harvest it in big batches. Like a farmer that grows a crop of corn is likely going to spend a couple weeks or a month, or I'm not sure exactly how much time, but batch harvesting that product. Whereas if you're a home farmer and you've got maybe one row of corn for a family, you likely are going to batch harvest, but there also might be this experience where you are picking the corn that's ready now to eat now, and just kind of like picking as you go within certain parameters. What we're talking about today is batch harvesting, is batch collecting, or unspooling a lot of thread all at once. And it's funny because I am in a content creation day, right? I'm in this day where a lot of information's coming through. The theory here is the importance and value of maintaining integrity, of not safeguarding, but of storing the crop correctly, making sure that when we are batch making food, or when we are collecting content, or whatever you're doing in your life right now, where you're kind of, I'm here bringing the cows home, right? Collecting. The energetic boundaries are important, and I'm also feeling like bringing the cows home is coming up again, of like when we gather people into our homes for parties or for holidays, there's a fortification that happens beforehand that allows the structure to hold, to kind of get a mass of people in, or to get an influx of energy, or get an influx of information. And when we do open our homes to a lot of people at once, it's kind of like harvesting that same sort of thing. Like there's a lot of information that happens all at once. There's a lot of social connection. And what's fantastic is that the environments that we shepherd, whether that's our houses, or if we're batch creating content, our phones or computers, or if we're batch making food, our freezers and our fridges, we have contracts with these structures that are containers that hold and maintain the integrity of what we're collecting. I'm feeling this theme of like really needing to acknowledge the support that we get from structures outside of ourselves. I talk here a lot about everything having a soul, about furniture around us having souls, about trees, plants, animals, all animate and inanimate objects have source connection. They are created from source. They are fragments of the whole. They are everything that we perceive around us, whether real or not, has, and I say real or not, whether seen or not, has connection to divine, has its own will and integrity. And when we can bring ourselves to correct relationship, to right relationship, to gratitude and intentionality in the web between us and the things around us, it makes our work and our service that much more integritous, potent, rich, fresh. It's like when you have frozen vegetables, and they say that frozen vegetables are often so good, second best to fresh vegetables that are picked at the peak of ripeness, which fresh vegetables aren't always. Sometimes they're harvested a little bit before, but sometimes frozen vegetables, because they go into preservation almost immediately or relatively soon after they're picked, they almost have a greater nutrient content than a vegetable that hasn't been able to develop all the way because they want to pick it early, so by the time it gets to stores, it's not rotting already. The desire here is for us to cultivate and live in communities where we can pick things at their peak freshness. And sometimes that means batch harvesting. Sometimes that means consolidating our social experiences to big parties, right? And instead of having this trickle effect, there's value in both and there's a recognition that in different seasons of our lives, in different seasons, we'll be doing this different ways, and it just depends on if we're batch making or if we're kind of trickling, eating as we go. All right, I'm not sure exactly where that's going to go and land. Let's get into the individual readings today. I hear that there will be 4 for us, 4 readings. 1, and I see like sand and the waves maybe. Tuning in to group 1, I'm feeling like you might have felt like tumbled, like almost like when you get tumbled up in a wave or when you get tumbled in an avalanche, like kind of cartwheeling over oneself. So we'll probably tune into that cartwheel emoji. You can see the emojis in the description as well as in the title. So group 1, kind of feeling head over heels. I'm almost feeling like kind of like, not you lose your stomach, but you know when you experience a drop and your stomach kind of just like comes up, and that like weightlessness, that discomfort in weightlessness. It feels like things haven't quite landed for you yet. You're kind of between spaces, and there's this concept of let the chips fall where they may. Group 2, I feel it's either sunrise or sunset. It feels more like a sunset, feeling of going into the dusk, of going into the underground, of going into the dark. Although I do feel like you are going into this slow season with an aliveness coming about you. You might be someone who's more of a night owl, or like way more alert and awake during nighttime hours. It's kind of like when the world sleeps is when you can really come alive. And I do feel like although we are in the yin, we are in the how do we say, in the, I'm hearing expulsion, in the fallow period where we're in the quiet long nights, right? It's almost like you are ramping up. You are feeling, although it's a sunset for many people, it feels like a sunrise for you because this is when you come alive. I feel like you probably are having a lot of ideas pop off right now. I feel like almost like fireworks in your brain. So we'll probably use firework emoji and the sunrise sunset and maybe that brain explosion one. That feels pretty clear. All right, group 3. Oh my gosh, I see this tiny, like the seed sprout emoji. Look at this funny shadow right here. This must be my phone. How funny. Oh my gosh, I love that. Look at that gradient. Okay, you know what they put over seeds sometimes, like shade cloths? I don't know if you've ever seen shade cloths. I used to work for the Forest Service, or I used to intern with the Forest Service, and part of what we did was grow hemlock trees for some studies, and there we were growing them under different shade cloths. I don't know if you've ever seen like at restaurants those like shade sails, but they make them in different kind of like densities to block out or let in different amounts of sunlight. I feel like I'm also seeing like transition lenses, you know, those glasses where you go out into the sun and they kind of block out the sun so they turn into sunglasses, and then you go inside and then they are transparent again. I'm feeling, and also like the DJ mixer where you can have 2 tracks playing and you've got a slider that slides between these two different albums, and it's almost like a gradient. It's this gradient feeling almost. Oh my gosh, I'm really loving that right now. So it's this gradient. I feel like you might be, it's very like Two of Pentacles. It's very like toggling between, finding balance between two spaces in your life. Very some Libra energy, because Libra is symbolized by the scales, but I feel like instead of trying to find balance, you're really actively teeter-tottering, and it's really working for you right now. I feel like you're gonna feel like you're really taking off running, like running uses 2 feet, like whatever two, you might have two environments that you're bopping between right now. Whatever is going on in that sort of regard for you, I feel like you're in your head about it, because it seems like things are going really well, but I feel like you're afraid there's a hitch in your step, or like you're afraid that there's like there's some insecurity or unsureness in your pace and rhythm, but it really feels like it's all up in your brain. Okay, group 3. So group 4, you guys, again, I'm feeling like that spiral emoji. It's not a wave, but it's just ruminating and habitually returning to the same space. I do feel like you're probably very consistent, although I don't know if this consistency is working for you right now or keeping you stuck. I'm feeling like you're in a little bit of a corn maze, and you kind of feel like you want to just like plow through the whole field. Like, why try and figure your way out when you can just lawn mow your way through it? I feel a lot of I don't know if you guys ever saw that commercial back in the day. What was it? It was like a tiller mower. It was like a bush hog sort of thing. And it was in the infomercial days. Not that there aren't still infomercials, but I just feel like they really hit their peak in the mid-O's or something like that. But this thing could like eat through anything. And I'm feeling very much a like, burn it down, mow it down, like I'm here to get where I'm going, like bandwagon, pave the way, trailblazer energy. I feel a lot of trailblazer energy, and maybe some fire for you guys, like a little bit of like, not watch it burn, but I'm not against using pyrotechnics to get to where I need to go. You know what I mean? Okay, y'all, those are our 4 groups. Group 1, group 2, group 3, or group 4. Group 1, sand, wave. Group 2, I don't know if I remember all of these emojis right now, but you'll see them in the descriptions. Let me know if you like the additional information to tune into your groups, or if you prefer to just use the emojis. Obviously, you're always welcome to just skip the descriptions if you want, but if it's something that you enjoy and want me to keep doing, please let me know in the comments below. All right, my dears, let's go ahead and tune right on in to group 1. Group 1. Okay, yeah, that's right. This was the tumbleweeding. Yeah, I hear that, you know that sound that kind of goes with tumbleweeds, like wah, 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 like the out west style, desolate. I feel like there's this sense of aloneness for you right now. And not just aloneness, but like aloneness with threat looming on the horizon. I hear like quaking in my boots. And I'm a little bit wondering what you are so afraid of. I feel like you're at this moment where you are being pushed or told to level up. Like it's a test period right now, or like, I don't know, like you're in the Wild West and it's like time to do like a gun duel or a draw or something. And it's really like, what do they say? Like testing your mettle, or like, what is the expression? It's something like, check your metal or test the metal or like see what you're made of, essentially, is the sentiment. I just feel like you need to take some deep breaths, group one. Because it feels like that, it's almost like when you are watching a movie and the main character like has an intense moment coming up and you can hear them breathing and you can hear their internal dialogue and you can feel the rattliness or the shaking, the insecurity that they're feeling, but then you almost feel like the focus come in, and it's almost like in the movie when the focus comes in and it just like gets tight and small, and it's like, you know this, you know how to do it. It's almost like in the Karate Kid where the main character has trained so much without even really knowing that he's training, that his body takes over. And truly for this group, it's just about relaxing and letting your body do what it does best. Going back to our opening imagery, it's like videos that you see people where their bodies are just like, they're processing things, they're picking things, they're building things, where they're just going so quickly that it's like, it's clear that they have done this for a very long time, or if not for a very long time, that they've learned very quickly and they've had a lot of practice. And again, if you joined for Chit Chat at the beginning, this concept of letting things flow through your body, letting the energetic, like your body understands its energetic flow really well, and it's something that you almost have to get out of your way mentally, and just like let your body just really kind of let flow through. And the next sensation that I'm getting is like someone who's just like killing the dance moves, you know, like you rehearse a dance or something and then it's finally time to like have the performance, and it's just like you can really enjoy the experience because your body is so in the moment that you're not having to think about what comes next. This is our wish and hope for you, is that you can feel so in the moment that you get to actually enjoy the moment. You don't have to think about it or overthink it or think of if you're prepared enough or not. It's just, you get to be in the moment. You get to be thriving. You get to be driving. You get to be, yeah, it's like when you're driving somewhere and you've been there many times before, you get to kind of enjoy the scenery because you know you're not going to miss your turn, because your body just orients itself to the right place and just kind of goes on autopilot. And when we are moving on autopilot in this way, when our biological forms are getting to when we get to trust our biological forms to take us from point A to B, we get to have like an even more radical presence with our surroundings. And it's this kind of engagement that's really going to bring you a deeper fruitfulness coming forward, again from Chit Chat. The relationship that we have with the things that surround us, there's so much more that can be capitalized on here. Not to bring capitalism into that experience, but we can, yikes, and I hate take advantage, but there's so much usefulness that the beings and entities and divine spirits around us would like to contribute to our communal wealth and success. It just takes a willingness to, number one, receive this support, number two, recognize when input is coming in to be utilized, and number three, to relax our bodies enough to jive and move and respond in a way that allows co-creation to continue to take place. A lot of what I'm feeling from this group is a hesitancy and like a tendency to feel overwhelmed when additional support comes in. Any of the blocks that might be coming up for you might include stuff around deservingness or inadequacy or inability to hold something. You know what I mean? This cutting self off before able to receive because a fear of not sustaining, whether it's that you will not be able to sustain or whether environment will not sustain. And there's different answers for both of these. So on the fear of I'm not able to sustain this connection, number one, that's not true. The only thing that's important to use here as medicine is to continue to come back to self again and again and again and again and again, and to really root ourselves into our biological form and experience. Because when we are present with our physical form, and I'm saying present, not controlling, but sitting with, right? We can have psychological presence, which can take the form of control, that we can be tempted to observe and to interact with our physical form through our brain space and really nip, tuck, prune, shear, and that's not super helpful for us because our brain is acting from past experience and past training that may not actually be that adept at reading current situations accurately. What's far more advisable is when we're able to have presence with ourselves to recognize and take indicator from how our body is presently feeling and what it's experiencing, and understanding the pangs of hunger in the stomach, meaning that it's going to be time to refuel soon, right? Not being like, I have to stop everything I'm doing right now because my stomach is rumbling. It's like, I'm witnessing my stomach signal to me that it's going to be time to eat food soon, and therefore I have the information that a break will be presented, food will be provided, and a natural flow is going to meet this indicator's need, or meet the need that this indicator is signaling to me. Do you see the difference there? One is forcing, willing, using willpower and mental manpower to shift and change the experience. And the second is really trusting the flow and basically being like, okay, like I'm seeing the road signs, I'm seeing the signals that I'm going to be taking my turn soon. And I know that when the turn comes up, I'll naturally be ready to go there. You know what I mean? So that's that first challenge. The second challenge of I'm afraid my environment will not sustain support, or I'm afraid my environment will not be consistent. Of course your environment's not going to be consistent. Honey, love bugs. It never is. We are humans and we live on a planet that is so seasonal, like annually seasonal, but also, how would you say, like daily, on the daily is seasonal. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. You know what I mean? Like we are cyclical in nature, and so will the waxing and waning of anything in our presence. So when we expect ourselves to maintain consistency, that don't make no sense. The only consistency we have to keep is consistency in our presence to our biological form, and even that gets to wax and wane, right? We need breaks sometimes. It's wonderful to be present with ourselves, and we need time to be present with others, to bear witness to others' experience, to bear witness. That's kind of how we learn. That's kind of how we diversify and create breadth in our experience, to create breadth in our cultured experience of the world, to be very steeped in our own self, and to be very lost in the experience with other. And we're not going to say lost, present in experience with other. So an important reminder to this group of, because going back to the avalanche feeling, or feeling like you're tumbled apart, like I'm wondering if some of this topsy-turvy stomach drop feeling is from this concept of losing yourself with other people, or losing yourself in your own experience, almost like tumbling down the rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland. Sometimes we can really lose ourselves to our own depths and darkness and destruction. And the thing here that feels really important is the come up it to have balance with ourself and with other, to experience the highs and lows of the sinusoidal wave. All energy flows in like sinusoidal or spiral functioning. There's always like hitting edges. It's a really natural part of the process. It's just important that when we hit the edge, we find our way back home, right? We go as far away as we can, and then we come back as deep as we can. It's just that sewing of the thread. We have to go the high and the low, up and under, and that's really what stitches together time and reality. Because that's the game that we're playing this time around, at least, is stitching time to reality. I'm also feeling the need to really ground your experience, to ground your whatever you're doing in the world these days, like whatever practices or behaviors you're having, whether that's going out and going to work, whether that's being with family, or whatever you're doing on your daily, to really ground it into your own experience with yourself, to make sure that you're connecting your experience with other with your experience with yourself. Because I'm understanding that you're going to find a lot more resonance, a lot more similarities. Like I feel like you're discovering the mirror right now, where it's as above, so below, as without, as within. And you're going to find a lot more clarity, or at the very least comfort, when you recognize your challenges in the world around you, and when you recognize yourself in the world around you, when you recognize the world around you showing up within your own body. Okay, group one, many blessings. Let me know how you're doing. I think you're gonna, I think you're gonna be fine. Know that even when you're skydiving, your stomach always seems to find you again. It's just that initial lurch. It's that initial shift in direction, that initial drop that really kind of like, whoof, sends you forward. And then you always on that other end, as you're landing, as you're slowing down, you're like getting the reciprocal end. You're getting the making up of that stomach dropping. You're feeling your stomach really heavily landing on the earth as you slow down, hit the parachute, and come down. Just know that there's balance in all things, and there's no longer a need to teeter totter too often. Okay. Group two. All right, I'm not remembering the opening imagery, but I don't think that's really important right now. What I'm feeling is, oh my goodness, it's like almost like stuffing your face. It doesn't feel as much like it's coming from a really big hunger from inside, but it almost feels like you're trying to kind of like, almost like in I Love Lucy when they're eating the chocolates off of the conveyor belt. It's like part of them eating them and stuffing them in their clothes is to just cover up and to put away the mess that's right in front of them. All right, let's try and tune into what that opening imagery was for just a moment. All right, it's not there. That's okay. That's necessary. Oh my goodness, all the time. Finding deeper finding deeper trust in this process can be such a challenge, but can also be such a joy. I'm wondering if you yourself are going through a depth of desolation, like a destruction of egoic spirit right now. It's almost like a rag that has so many holes in it that it's more not a rag than it is a piece of cloth. You know, more parts of it are missing. It's like a disintegrating, you know what I mean? Can we even call it a cloth because it's so threadbare? And this dissolution of self, like, I just feel you becoming lighter and lighter and lighter, more at ease. And then I hear more sinful. This process, I don't have Catholic background and upbringing. And this process of like, take thee to the water, like get to the confessional, like almost this feeling of like beating oneself against a rock, like you would clean a rag. There's a balance here of dissolving of self there's a balance between giving up worldly possessions, giving up egoic structure, giving up claims to fame, giving up the clothes in your closet, giving up the dollars in your bank account, giving up the food on your table before you get too hungry. And with this group, it's really important to have balance here. It's really important to have balance. I'm feeling an overwhelming, I feel like this group is beginning to share resources, it's like, have you ever seen like one of those well pumps where it like takes a little bit for it to get going? Just a well pump. You got to pump it a few times to get the water from underground up to the top. And at first it feels like there's nothing there to offer. There's nothing there to give. Nothing's coming out. But if you tune in, you can hear it coming. And I feel like that's the point where you're at, where the water's flowing forth. And it's almost this concept of like, I don't know what to do with all this wealth that comes through me. I don't know where for it to go. And this is where it's not your responsibility or job to figure that out. The water figures it out. The flow, the energy, the information naturally is going to figure out where it wants to go. It's going to go where it needs to. It always finds its way. And the water pump's job is not to pipe the water, it's just to bring the water up. Your role in this moment is to bring wealth forward into the world. And it's less important to provide other people with wealth as it is to show yourself that you are capable of holding and containing this flow, of shepherding this flow, of being a conduit. Going back to Chit Chat at the beginning, where I was talking about channeling and talking about trusting flow to come through, and even in this reading at the beginning where it's like, I don't remember the opening imagery, right? I don't remember the emojis. Is this on track with that or not? Some of the most major part of the process of channeling for me has been to trust flow and to recognize that it is not my job or responsibility to edit or sidewind or conduct the words or the information that comes through. It's not my job to like figure out exactly who it goes to or edit it down into pre-packageable forms. I want to make it accessible to people. Yes, that is part of my job as a shepherdess, is to make sure that the water is coming out above ground. But beyond that, that's more part of my role as the conduit, as the channel, as the entity or the being through which this information comes, is making sure that I am in the right place at the right time. That is my only job. I don't need to worry about any of the rest, because the flow, divine flow, like that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm in service to. And your role here is to just trust, to connect. Again, if we're talking about connecting to our biological form, if we're talking about maintaining presence with self, that's really what it's about. I feel like that is a lot of the messaging that came through in group 1, if that's something that you want to get more of a handhold on, is remembering how to be with who you are enough to get the signals of what's coming now, of what's happening, of where you're headed, because it's less about holding the goal or the destination in mind, right? You're not holding the destination of divine flow. You're not holding the destination of the water. The destination that you're holding is how it feels in your body to be successful, or how it feels in your body when you are in correct alignment or in the right place at the right time, how it feels in your body to be hitting the marks on the stage. Not what it feels like to be an audience member receiving the words that you're delivering, right? Or receiving the visual cue. It's like, that's two different perspectives. Your job is to stay with yourself, not catch the wave and go where the water goes. Very much, are you going to be letting go of timing, of resources, of your closet? If you haven't been doing like spring clean outs or passing pantry food items on clothing drive, like very much that energy right now of letting your resources go out to those who need to receive them. And again, it's less about figuring out where it needs to go as it is resonating with your body. And I almost see like you'll be driving or walking or talking with people, having different conversations, and all of a sudden I think your body is going to tell you when you need to contribute in certain areas. You're going to hear a friend talk about a soup kitchen, or you're going to hear a friend talk about another friend in need, and your physical form is going to let you know that that's where your resources need to go to in this moment, right? It's not going to come from here, it's going to come from here. Okay, I'm really proud of you for staying with yourself through this. I know it takes a lot to maintain presence. I know it takes a lot to trust impulses that can sometimes make you feel really vulnerable, right? I have the urge to say like, it makes you feel crazy, but it's less crazy and more a feeling of intense vulnerability, of not having the repetition of certain patterning that results in trust, right? I can trust that the messages are going to come up when they need to. Whenever I open the records, like, and if it runs dry, then that's what it's supposed to be that day. but I have that trust now. I mean, I'm still building it, as you can see in this particular reading. I'm like, I don't know what it's about, and I'm feeling insecure and nervous about this. But it's always deepening. That's always deepening for us. And right now you're in a season of doing the reps so that trust can build and be formed. And again, back to the first read where we're talking about the Karate Kid who's wax on, wax off, who's building repetition. It's that insane amount of repetition that's what integrates that trust into your somatic body, into your physical form. So that way you can, like group 1, have such a deep inner knowing, a deep biological understanding of habit patterning, or just like a reading of the waters, that you can let your body go through the motion, so that way your mind can just like be really present with everything around you. Okay, group 2, blessings, blessings, blessings. Book in if you would like one-on-one support and guidance in this season of, I'm hearing choppy waters, but yeah, what a good way to do it. Okay, guys. Group 3. Hi, group 3. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. I was just noticing in the group 2's, I lost the opening imagery for them, and it's like it was part of the messaging, but now it's coming back to me for them of like the sunrise, sunset. And I'm wondering now what yours was. We're just gonna be flying blind today, I guess. All right. I am here for it. All right, I'm feeling like, have you ever been to one of the like a water park where they have that big dump bucket that fills up, and then every once in a while, like, just completely tips over? I feel like you're experiencing one of those times where it's just like, it's either about to tip over. I don't know. I just like the anticipation feels very high for you right now. Yeah, and again, it feels important. Yeah, to take it to, and now I'm having the urge to just kind of like braid my hair. It feels like, you know, when you're expecting company and you're just like a little excited, nervous, that you don't know what to do with yourself. And so you're like cleaning things or doing small tasks because you're trying to like busy yourself, but you're not really actually present in the moment so much because you're just kind of busying yourself. It's kind of like busy work. And then I just feel like your presence totally drop into form. Sometimes like when a dog turns around 3 times, or they do in cartoons 3 times, I don't know, like when a dog will circle, 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 and then lay down. I'm not sure exactly what's happening, but the psychosomatic experience of circling is really important, is informational here. And yes, there gets to be a time where you can check things obsessively, and where it gets to be more of a control behavior pattern than it is biologically informed. But if your biological form is letting you know that it wants to move in certain ways, or it wants to do certain habits or patterns, it's valuable to allow that expression to occur. And I think that you just really needed permission to let that happen. Because I think this group is like, but I'm afraid to feel crazy. I'm afraid to feel, and coming from other space, it's not feeling crazy. It's just feeling very vulnerable. Feeling very vulnerable. But this group knows how to show up for self. Yeah, I feel endless compassion for others here. And the reminder that you have the ability to focus that compassion on yourself. And now I'm almost seeing like, a magnifying glass and how it can focus sunlight in a space, that you can turn that heat in different places. You have the ability to articulate your focus really clearly. And you've articulated that focus outside of your body. Like that's where you've built that skill. You've been able to focus on things outside of your body really well. And that's how you've built the skill. And now it's just a matter of focusing that attention on yourself. And I almost feel like it burns. It feels like focusing on yourself so directly. Yeah, it feels like you're up to here. But you've learned how to move that spotlight around often enough that it doesn't hurt others. I feel like you know how to like poke and prod in a way that calls attention, like puts a spotlight on someone, but then takes it off in enough time to let them readjust and correct, and then come back to the experience in a different, try again. And so you know how to do this with yourself too. You don't have to focus on one aspect of your psyche for too long. It doesn't feel detrimental to stay in the same place, but it does feel like it might be overwhelming. And so I'm seeing you do this kind of, what do I hear? Hypochondriac dance of like if you focus on one thing inside yourself too, like one aspect that you want to change or one growth space that you want to kind of capitalize on, it almost becomes like an autoimmune, like attacking yourself, because I do feel like you have like hypochondriac tendencies where it's like ultra informed sensitivity to cleanliness or to expectations or to control or to things looking or feeling a certain way. And that this moving around that I think you're experiencing, this like cleaning before someone comes over, this kind of innocuous kind of like ADHD, kind of like bopping around here and there, here and there, here and there, is your body playing out some jitters that don't belong to you. All right, the scene I get is the concept of incest, right? Of having, I think incest is like specifically like sexual or procreation oriented relationship with family, or within lineage dynamics, right? And just being like, we don't need to, how do you say? We don't need to demonize, scrutinize, or pathologize. We don't need to over pathologize, right? And create a situation that's like incest when a looser experience is just having an affinity and connection or relationship with someone, right? You can be drawn to someone. All right, let's just take this incest thing. Like, you can have two family members who are really drawn to each other without focusing on it so much until it becomes incest, right? You can just have people get along. It's like the balance here is continuing to move forward, right? Of saying like, hey buddy, let's go out and explore the world together, as opposed to like, that feels appropriate. That feel like, let's go out and explore the world. Like, I love your viewpoint. I love your perspective on things. I enjoy spending time with you. Like, let's go explore the world together. Whereas if you come together and you decide to explore each other and with that same intensity and curiosity that then crosses certain societally held boundaries, it becomes damaging. And then there's this whole other conversation of the truth and reality that's in your heart versus the truth and reality that's societally held. But either way, there's this need to kind of like loosen up on judgment or loosen up on restrictions that create a way deeper intensity and infatuation and rumination and just like obsession that then really damages self and other. So for the love of God, just let yourself observe what your body needs and wants to do before you judge it and pathologize it. For the record, I am not endorsing inappropriate behavior. Oofta. Yeah, anything that's illegal or out of line. Oof, boy. It's just important to allow ourselves to be observers of our own thoughts. Just asking you to observe your own thoughts and to get curious, to watch them come and to watch them go. It feels really important for this group to not hang on so tightly to things. And then I'm also getting images of like in Toy Story, you know, there was a kid across the street who, would like mutilate toys. This kid who, if we look at that movie again, probably was needing to exercise his own form of control because he was not allowed to control his own personal form. And therefore parroted the reality that he experienced by controlling and shaping and just kind of playing Frankenstein with what was under his power and control, which was his toys. Okay, my darlings, let's check in one more time here because I feel like we got really into some stuff. I want you to get the emotional and psychological support that you need. I'm going to plug BetterHelp and clinical mental health counseling here. Therapy is an amazing tool that can help you work through a lot of different things, a lot of challenging feelings, and a lot of, I don't want to say issues, but a lot of damaging beliefs that feel larger than what you're able to handle. BetterHelp is an amazing tool. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, but I have experienced care through this program. It's a way to match people, especially in rural areas, or if you don't have access to clinical mental health services or therapy services where you live, or if that support feels outside of your financial capabilities. BetterHelp has been incredible working with me and others who need access to additional resources. You can connect with a licensed therapist through text, phone call, and video. There are different plans available. And it's really something special that I know at least has helped me through some massive growth periods. And I think the point here is that, again, we go through seasons of growth. We go through seasons of depth and liberation. We go through seasons of challenge and joy. And it can be really helpful to have someone guide you through some of the messy restructuring that needs to happen inside of our internal psyches to really make it through some of the rougher patches and to kind of organize and put things away and understand and explore different aspects of ourselves. Okay, guys, let me know how you're doing. All the love, and I'll see you next week. Okay. Group 4, hi group 4, hi group 4. All right, my dears. I'm feeling a lot of consistency right now. It feels like drop, 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 like water dropping. And almost like a rhythm that you could set your clock to, that you could set your watch to. I almost like hear it in like a cavernous empty room. And I hear like X marks the spot, or just like it feels like things are getting clearer and clearer. I think this is one of the group that had the spiral. But if not that, then I'm seeing like concentric, so, you know, like if water is dropping in a pool of water, it like makes ripples. And I feel like you are experiencing the concentric circles of a target. And if you're not at a bull, like the cool thing about a target or those concentric rings and circles is that no matter where you are, you understand where the center is. You know what I mean? By the shape, like even if you're at the outer rings that are not super acutely, that's not the way, like if to say it, but like, you know how it's going to go like this, and then it's slowly going to get bigger. Even if you're out here, it's never going to be straight. It's always going to be curved, and it's going to point you to where the center is. So no matter where you land on this map right now, I think you know exactly how to get back to the core of who you are. I think you have the capacity to explore your outer edges, to kind of like go out. And if we're going back to that, what do we say? That imagery at the very beginning of like unspooling the thread a little bit. It's like no matter how far out you go, you are never disconnected from the centermost part of who you are. That thread will always pull you home. Even if you cut it off the spool, it's like you have this echolocation, this homing device to bring you to the centermost part of who you are. I feel like it's really important right now to enjoy the time spent away from yourself. I'm not sure if you're especially showing up for others right now, or if you are really in the habit of just like going out in the world and not being home very much. If you are spending time outside of your comfort zone, whatever this may be like for you in this moment, I hope you're enjoying it, because there's this comment or constant or reminder that you are constantly tethered. Like you are like, I'm seeing like you're hewn in, you are harnessed up, you are like, you're roped in, you know, like you're in the 5-point harness, like nothing's gonna go wrong. You know what I mean? And there almost feels like this urge to be like, okay, how far off from center can I get? How far out can I go? And I really feel like the further you go, the more new information and knowledge that you get to bring home, to bring to the centermost part of who you are. I feel a lot of serving your family, or if not your immediate experience of family, like your lineage, like your future generations, or even past generations. There's a lot of collecting wealth that will be shared far beyond your form. A lot of collection that looks like greed, but is perceived that way only when understood by those who are thinking only of themselves. It's easy to see someone bulk harvesting, like back to the beginning of a farmer harvesting a crop, right? If a neighbor looked by and said, oh, that farmer like didn't have the understanding that that person was a farmer and that they were sharing that wealth with others, that part of their livelihood was doing that job for other people in exchange for goods and services, in exchange for money that one could purchase other things that farmer was not spending their time harvesting, creating, doing, making, then one might be like, wow, what are they doing with like 3 tons of corn? Like, that's so greedy. But that's not what we think about when we see farmers. We're like, oh wow, this person has found something that they're really good at, and that I'd love to pay them to do, so that way I don't have to grow corn myself. So I can focus on making mattresses, you know, so I can do that thing that gives me joy, that I'm passionate about, and then exchange for. So there's this reminder of like, I don't know if you're feeling greed, if people are calling you greedy, if this is a fear that's inside of whatever that may be. Girlfriend, boyfriend, honey, you're batch creating, and you are batch making, and you are in process of harvesting for your whole community, which is really something valuable and important. And I recognize that if we're going along with the farmer thing now, like there are communities, and like CSA is coming to my mind right now. Like a CSA is kind of like a farmer resource sharing thing where it's like organized trade and packaging that helps create a more direct line from farmers to their communities without middlemen, and with seasonal intention, and like food that comes in at different times throughout the seasons, and it's a really sustainable way for communities to support their farmers without farmers having to sell out to big companies and kind of be taken advantage of, and it's just, and like have resources really leave the community. But I'm reminded of a program that I experienced when I was in AmeriCorps. I was in it doesn't matter. But anyway, the program that I was in was very community based, very environmentally based, and had a lot of different nonprofits involved. One of the nonprofits was put on by a county, and it was like an old school, I think, and it connected farmers and brought in an educational aspect where people could share knowledge. And this is the kind of community that you're a part of. It's one where, yes, you can be the farmer that grows corn, and you can teach workshops so that way other people can grow their corn too. It's not like someone is going to come around and put you out of business. And if someone does come around, like there's enough trust in the universe that if that responsibility of growing corn needs to be passed off or needs to be shared, the right thing will come up, and you'll be a part of educating and passing that baton forward. And the trust that that baton, if it ever needs to leave your hands, will go to the right person and will go at the right time, so that way you can be freed up to do the next thing that's really important for you to get done. All right, my dears, I hope that has been direct and clear. Yeah, I hope that's been direct and clear. And clarified that you might experience the shifting of roles coming up. A lot of the reads today have been about trusting divine timing, about trusting divinely inspired biological form. And this is no different, but the focus is really on letting go of free will and control that limits your ability, not completely, but that will that limits your ability to be present with the process. Sometimes we can exercise our will to stay attached to a certain point when really we need to be using our will to move to and fro in the spaces that most light us up and most inform our divine being of how welcomed and loved we are in the world. Going back to the imagery from the beginning of this particular reading, you always have that connection to self. No matter how far out you are, you always have that connection there. And it's not even a matter of trust, because I know you know how connected you are to who you are. I don't think this group has ever felt at risk of losing themselves or being lost from themselves. I think if anything, it's been kind of like, wow, overwhelming how far away you can get from who you are. And it just feels more like awe-inspiring. Your ability to have such breadth in your character and an experience of life, like that has been like, that's the kind of expansion of the universe. It's incredible. It's mind-boggling, really. But it really just shows the capacity you have to hold more. And it leaves me truly in awe to witness that energetic and that spirit. So, tightness of grip need not apply. Yeah, you don't have to have a grip on anything right now, much less reality. You don't need to have a tight grip. You can have open palms, and what will come to you will land, and what's time to go will leave. And it's just, you'll be amazed what you'll find in your hands at the end of the day. You'll be amazed at the creatures and experiences that you will have held in your open palms at the end of your life when you continue to live in this way. The places you'll be able to go, the sights you'll be able to see, the connections and the relationships you'll be able to have. I have a feeling that you're already quite traveled and familiar with this, but it really feels like it's literally only just the very beginning of what's possible for you. Okay, my loves. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Yeah, I am so grateful to have you by my side as a fellow human being in the world, implementing and imparting change, envisioning what we'd like to see, what we wish for ourselves and for others. So thank you for being a part of widening that gap so we all may experience such vastly different and truly incredible things. Okay, dears. All right, y'all, what a day it has been. What breadth of reading have we had? Some highs and some lows and everything in between. So I'm going to go ahead and close up this connection. Thank you for being here. If you would like to work with me more, I open Akashic Records for people, for pets, for couples and friends and relationships, for businesses and entrepreneurs, for teams, and all sorts of different amalgamations of people and energetics, so that we may understand our energetic roles and responsibilities more effectively, and so we can exalt our own sovereignty and independence and interdependence in ways that honor us all. Period. Okay, let's close it up today. Book in at soulshiftchanneling.com to get your one-on-one or couple or group session. Okay. In love and light, I thank our masters, teachers, and loved ones for their information and guidance. Amen, amen, amen. The records are closed. Okay, the last thing I see is if anyone here is familiar with the 100 board. I went to a Montessori school as a kid, and one of the activities that we had in 3 to 6 was this frame board that had numbers from 1 to 100, and it was 1 through 10, and then the next line would start with 11, and it would just go down from there. It was a 10 by 10 thing, and it had 100 spaces. And so there would be space for 100 tiles that were numbered 1 to 100 to be arranged in that order. And it feels like a game board a little bit, but really it was about organization, right? Because arranging things in order is just about following a particular sequence of predictability. And even though we can find patterns and repetition in the numbers 1 to 100, right? All the zeros are going to line up. All the numbers that end in 1 are going to line up, and end in 2 are going to line up. There are no two numbers on that board that are exactly the same. And so too are we establishing or just living out a sequence in our lives that is sequential and has some sort of order and rhythm to it. And yet we're constantly growing, right? We're constantly ascending. We're constantly like going from 1 to 100, like more is being added every day. And so if we feel out of control, if we feel lost or overwhelmed or confused, to kind of come back to ourselves, come back to our count, come back to our sequence, come back to the predictability of the individual days or moments or weeks or years in our lives, and to kind of like cut it down into these little boxes can be helpful in grounding us in our reality. Sometimes our vision when witnessing this expanse can just be like a little too out there, or like taking in too much. But coming back to the breath, coming back to the pace of our footsteps can just kind of like bring us back to that 100 board, bring us back to our life, you know, bring us back to the rhythm of it all. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you next Wednesday, and good luck. Bye.